Welcome back to the hangar. Going to be working on that engine again so that I can get it mounted. I've got a little extras that I'm going to be doing to the before I remount the engine. And I mean, one of them is those little banjo bolts off the oil injection system. They have check valves in them and they're leaking, so I'm going to replace them today. What else am I going to do? Replace those, and then I'm going to I'm going to do something about an issue that a lot of you guys have mentioned, and I've pretty well ignored. And the engine's been working great the way it is, but I'm going to do some investigating, and I might make a change to something. You'll have to see what that is. Yeah. So this is going to be a rather short update, maybe. I always say that, and they always end up being like 3 hours long. Thanks for following along. Remember, I'm going to say this early. I know it annoys some people, but I'm going to say it anyways. Click that subscribe button and the like button. Because that's like bonus for me. It tells me that people are actually liking what I've seen, or what they're seeing, or what I'm doing, or whatever that is. So yeah, got a lot to do, and it's going to be a very, very busy day because I'm also working on the other airplane, the Emerald, and got a lot to do on that as well. So I don't know. I'm probably going to break that down into 2 different videos because 2 different airplanes. So yeah, let's pitter patter and get at her, and we'll start our work. Hopefully this is a short update video, something that a lot of you guys like. So let's get to work.
Okay, I'm going to record a narration on this. It's not warp speed. This is going to be short, quick cuts of what's going on, and I had to turn the volume right off because there was compressors and drills and pneumatic hammers and riveting guns going on. There's a lot more work going on behind me here in the hangar, so I had to drop the volume on the video recording. So anyways, there I am with the torque wrench and torquing the banjo bolts. I had showed you that earlier there a second ago. And those new banjo bolts for the oil injection system that has the check valves in them. And here I am attaching the hoses. I've already got one attached, and I'm showing you how that is done. You slide the hose over the banjo bolt, and then you slide the little crimp fitting over the hose. Let's see, there we go. There's a crimp fitting. Ooh, I should put in a little cheer or something here. I'll do that cheer when it's finished. So, yeah, there. And then now I use just a pair of wire cutters, but don't squeeze all the way down hard. Gently squeeze on these. And the reason I use these cutters is because they got a very flat surface to them, and it makes a nice even squeeze. So you give a gentle squeeze on the one side, a gentle squeeze on the other side of that little tab thingy, and it compresses it, and it makes a nice firm connection. So, and there we go. Thumbs up. Yay. And at this point now I'm going to be fitting the oil injection system as well as the electric starter housing back onto it, and tightening up bolts. Yes, everything has Loctite on it, or, well, thread locking compound. And now I'm just torquing the bolt that for the fan itself, because that needs to be done. The fan with the fan belt and all that kind of stuff. And that's why I'm using a torque wrench. And there we go, starting to torque, and now I'm putting the fan housing on. You guys can probably see that without me narrating, but there we go. And of course the starter motor gets mounted on there. Now at this point, this next shot is I've got the engine strapped up, and on the end of that engine hoist. And I'm going to drag it back and start positioning it to get mounted onto the aircraft. But before I do that, there is a few other changes that I'm going to be making, and I do discuss that in the next segment coming up. So back to non-narration and with me talking on the camera.
Okay, a little more of an update here. Made another change. I figured since the engine's pulled, I relocated something. I relocated the fuel pump, the pulse pump. Yeah, I know, I said I was going to leave it down there. And it was working fine. Engine was running great. Fuel pressure was absolutely fine. But, both Bob and Rick, both from Rotax, one's BC, there's Ontario, said, hey, no, you really need to raise it up a bit so that it's at least on level with, or better than, as low as it was, because it's going to drain oil from the backside. Oil's going to get in there and get into the pulse pump, and it could stop it from working. So when I pulled the engine off, which is about to get back on here, you may have seen me fitting it and then pulling it off, that kind of stuff. When I pulled the engine off, I looked at the fuel pump, and the pulse hose had about, 3 inches of fuel in it. Well, the only way that's going to get in there is coming out of that little hole, and the fumes, that kind of stuff. So, okay, I give in. I give. I was going to leave it as it was, being stubborn as I sometimes can be. So I figured I'm going to raise it up. So let's take a look down here. It was sitting right here, and you can see there's a lot of oil here, because oil was dripping out of the weeping hole. There's a little weeping hole where the pulse goes in there, and it was draining down there. So it's moved up to here, and the hose goes in the behind and out the top, right up here, and then it will enter. So what's going to happen is that this hose is going to go up and travel here, then the pulse down. And I'm probably going to have to cut that hose, 8 inches off of it, maybe a little more. Yeah, I was going to mount it higher. I don't know if you noticed. There's these holes here for the nut plates in the back. Problem is mounting it here. No clearance. This was touching the fuel pump over there. And if I moved it up just a little bit, it may have cleared, but then they would have been really close to the engine, and if this flexed. So up here was not good. And so it's down here. Let me just reiterate, I am not putting it here. The vibrations from the engine and all that, I think that's causing more harm. When people say their fuel pumps failed, that kind of stuff, they're always mounted right here on the engines. And so it's not way down there, it's up much higher. It's just about on level, or will be just about on level with this hose over here, or the hole here. Might be just a little bit down, but gravity is going to keep anything that goes up will come back down again. So yeah, that's the change to the fuel system. I got to replumb it a little bit so that I can get my inputs over here, and the fuel line over here has to be changed so that it can be tied in. This is the fuel input, and these are the two outputs. I'm probably just going to block this one off, because I'm only taking a single fuel line to the carbs. So, and both these ports are in the same chamber. There's no valves, nothing. There's just this is split in two. This is the output chamber, and these just enter into the output chamber. So, yeah, I'm just going to come out with a single hose and just plug this one off. I wish I could remove this, but I think they're pressed in there, and I don't want to start messing around with that, so we'll just leave it alone. So, okay, there we go. There's a little sidebar for my madness. As you can see, the banjo bolts are replaced, and these ones have the check valves in them, so now it will not dribble oil out like the other one did and made a huge puddle down there. And then, of course, fixing the electrical issue, which was what, that from last episode, what was the problem with the stator. So, yeah, it's coming along nicely now. I'm going to be mounting this engine today and getting the plumbing back done, and I'll show you that when I'm done. I'm going to try to edit this thing down so it's not like a 45-minute video. There's an awful lot of work that was done here, and so anyways, we'll keep you rest and see you shortly once I get that engine mounted. Back to work. Okay, yeah, it's been a very long day. I got here 11 o'clock this morning, and it's 9 o'clock, 9:30. Oh, yeah, it's 9:30 in the evening now, and I haven't had supper, and I didn't have lunch, so kind of worked through everything. Got a hell of a lot done, and as you probably saw in the updates, that kind of stuff. Hopefully I can edit this down to something reasonably short, like under 15 minutes, that kind of stuff. So, fuel pump relocated, lifted it up considerably, shortening that pulse hose and getting it nearly on the same height, not quite the same height as the output from the engine, but the hose coming out of the engine now will come out, up, and then to the pulse pump. So any fluids that do get into that will have to defy gravity, and when the engine stops, it should leak its way back down into there. So that's the plan. We'll see. I put a lot of work into putting a fuel pressure sensor and a fuel flow sensor in that manifold, and so yeah, there's a reason why I don't want to put that on the top of the engine. Well, one of them is the vibration. That's a killer for these fuel pumps. The other one is it makes a real ugly mess. I don't like that octopus of hoses and stuff that a lot of people have there, so I'm trying to clean it up. I don't know, maybe you can't. Sometimes it's just inherently messy, but we'll see when this thing gets flying. The fuel pump never failed. It never stopped working. It always produced. It always delivered. But I think I mentioned, yeah, this is like the closing out. So I think I mentioned that I noticed there was a fair amount of fuel pooling at the bottom of that hose after the engine sat for a while, and that was somewhat concerning. Well, okay, that's a lot more than just a little bit of moisture. That was a considerable amount. So that's why the relocate. Yeah, we'll see. Again, experimental aviation. As long as it runs. I do have the electric fuel pump, and the electric fuel pump could run the engine, 24 hours a day. Some people just run dual electrics all the time. I didn't want that. I wanted a mechanical pump that did not rely on an electrical system to operate. So, one is electric, one is mechanical. If your mechanical fails, you've got the electric. If the electric fails, you still have the mechanical. It's that kind of thinking. So everything should be in pairs and independent from each other, so that reduces the chance of engine failure. I'm babbling. Yeah, I know it's late, and so yeah, this has been again very, very productive day, and I will be back at it. I did not finish mounting that engine. All I did was rivet that aluminum plate, which is like a firewall thing. Finished riveting that in there, and now I've got to do some plumbing of those hoses, and then when that's done, then I'll get the engine in place. It's close. It's just going to hang there right now on the hydraulic jack. Until I get back here and mount it, which won't be tomorrow. Tomorrow is Sunday, and I have plans, and next week I'm out of town, so yeah, it'll be the next weekend. So yeah, but progress, and there was progress on the Emerald, the other airplane. I'm not sure if I will include an intro where I first started with the Emerald or not. I don't know, we'll see. It's probably going to be two separate videos completely, so because they're two separate airplanes, right? The Emerald is a sexy little aircraft, and I think my Challenger's pretty sexy. Yeah, my tractor sexy. Yeah, okay. No singing. I can see all the subscribing count going down. No! Okay, so that's it for right now. Thanks for following along. I appreciate every one of you there, and God bless. Keep your stick on the ice, and we'll see you again here in the hangar. Bye for now.